Lord of Mystery. The Return of the Stars Chapter 221 to 230. The next day, Audrey woke up from her bed at dawn. She had a rare sleepless night. She lifted the quilt, half leaned against the cushion at the head of the bed, and looked through the stained glass at the dimly lit world outside. It was already October, and the weather was starting to get a little cooler. In 2 months, it would be the new year, and it would snow in Backland at that time. She had dreamed of inviting Mr. Hester, Grallant, Hugh, and Ms. First to play together when the new year was approaching. Even if it was just sitting and chatting, drinking hot tea while looking at the hazy snow scene outside the window, it would be a different feeling. But now, Mr. Hester might leave Backland before the new year and go to South Wales, which was about to become a battlefield. "Audrey, what's wrong with you? Be quiet, don't talk, let me think about it." Susie turned over after hearing this, and fell asleep on the ground again. It was not until the sun jumped up from the top of the mountain and dispelled the mist outside that Audrey retracted her gaze, lifted the quilt and got up. She did not disturb Susie, who was still sleeping, and went to the bathroom to wash up, and then let the maids dress her up as the most dazzling pearl of Backland. When going downstairs for dinner, Earl Hall deliberately glanced at Audrey today, and Audrey responded with a sweet smile. Everything seemed to be the same as usual. Earl Hall was rare to be gentle today, and told some interesting jokes at the table. During the period, Audrey and Countess Hall also participated in the topic many times, and the whole dining atmosphere was very relaxed and happy. At about 9:30 in the morning, Audrey went out in a carriage. Susie wanted to follow, but Audrey refused and told her to stay at home. The carriage crossed the King's Avenue and arrived at the door of Haster's house. At this time, Hester had just woken up from a deep sleep. He had successfully taken the corrupted Baron's extraordinary characteristics last night and successfully promoted to Sequence 6 Corrupted Baron. His spiritual power was slightly overflowing at this moment, and his head was still a little painful. Hearing Audrey's visit made him feel surprised and unprepared. He could only suppress the overflowing spiritual power. Then he pulled himself together, washed up, and before he had time to eat breakfast, he met Audrey, who had been waiting for a while in the study. Seeing that Audrey had not spoken, Asta spoke first. "Miss Audrey, why did you suddenly come to visit today?" Under normal circumstances, Audrey would have someone send a visiting card in advance, which would state when she would come to visit. This was the first time that she had come to visit directly. She didn't look like she just happened to pass by here and came to visit. Audrey said calmly, "What does Mr. Ostad think about the South Continent and South Wiltshire? Is Miss Audrey also interested in this kind of thing? Yes, this may be something that will affect the situation of the entire continent, and I also want to know something about it. It is estimated that at the tarot meeting, the hanged man Alger entrusted her to find out the opinions of the upper echelons of the Kingdom of Lowen. She didn't want to ask Earl Hall directly, so she came to me. War is inevitable. The best-case scenario is that the war occurs on the land of the southern continent. The worst-case scenario is that a large-scale naval battle breaks out between the southern and northern continents on the sea. The worst-case scenario is that the war begins in South Wales." Ostad told Audrey his views on the war without reservation, which should be enough for her to go back and submit the task to the hanged man. But Ostad did not see a happy expression on Audrey's face, but a faint sadness. "What do you think is the chance of our Kingdom of Lowen winning, Mr. Asta?" "Winning or losing is naturally half and half, either losing or winning." Asta laughed a little and did not speak directly. Audrey's eyes seemed to sharpen all of a sudden. Mr. Asta should not be optimistic about the Kingdom of Lowen, right? Asta's thoughts were exposed, and he did not intend to continue to perfunctory. He said solemnly, "I am indeed very pessimistic about this war. The later it breaks out, the more beneficial it will be for the Kingdom of Lowen." "Why?" Asta stood up and took out a hand-painted world map. "This is an accurate map drawn by the kingdom's navigators after many voyages. It is very valuable." Hester supplemented some of the information for some of the places, but did not write down the specific location information. He just needed to understand it himself. "It looks like a showdown between the North and South continents, but in fact it is not. The ones who really need to face the threat from the South continent are the Kingdom of Lowen and the Kingdom of Finet. Only these two kingdoms have a large part of their land area facing the sea. If the South Continent fights back, considering the battle route, their first target will definitely be the coastal ports of the Kingdom of Loen and the Kingdom of Feynet. It is impossible for them to go around and run to the Amanda Mountains in the northeast to attack the Faesac Empire. It is good enough for small countries such as Seeger and Renberg to protect themselves. It is impossible for them to send troops to participate in the war. The Republic of Intis has enough national strength, but if they want to participate in the war, they will probably propose a strategy of passing through the inland of the Kingdom of Loen. This is something that cannot be easily agreed to. As for the Faesac Empire, it monopolizes the northern region, and its north is frozen land. It is the country that most hopes that a large-scale war will break out. It will sit and watch the Kingdom of Loen and the Kingdom of Feynet fight against the South Continent fleet, and then look for opportunities to reap the benefits. Asta talked freely. If the existence of gods is not considered, Faesac should be the country most likely to unify the North and South continents. Unfortunately, the god of war does not have much brains. Audrey just listened quietly, and from time to time she glanced at Asta's high-spirited appearance. This was a rare side of Mr. Asta. She had always thought that Mr. Asta was a scholarly noble, but now she discovered that Mr. Asta had another side that was not well known. He had his own views on the analysis of the war situation and how the situation in the North and South continents would evolve in the future. She didn't understand these views and opinions very well, and could only understand part of them. She had never been very interested in this aspect. But she still understood that Asta was not optimistic about the current situation in the Kingdom of Loen. No wonder Earl Hall always sighed and looked sad recently. Well, these are all events that have a probability of happening. No one can be sure of how the situation will change in the future. After all, war is likely to have miracles and accidents. After satisfying his desire to speak out and point out the world, Asta remembered his current identity. He was no longer the Civilization 6 player who could sit at the computer desk, drink a can of Red Bull, and then sit day and night. The evolution of the situation he just described is based on the situation that the gods did not intervene. Once the gods personally come to the battlefield, it is difficult for him to predict how the war will evolve. Especially the movements of the Republic of Intis. The most important reason for the conflict between the North and South continents this time was that the eternal blazing sun personally provoked it, and the other Orthodox churches were just helping him. But judging from the current situation, it is indeed the most difficult situation for the Kingdom of Loen and the Kingdom of Faenaport. Is it because of these reasons that Mr. Asta wants to go to Southwell County? Audrey finally asked the most important question of coming here today. The territory that our Campbell family has inherited from generation to generation is in Southwell County. I can't just leave it alone. Restoring the glory of the Campbell family is the promise I promised to the old butler. Asta couldn't say his real purpose directly, so he could only use the reason of restoring the former glory of the Campbell family. This is indeed part of the reason. Audrey hesitated and asked again, Mr. Hastur did it voluntarily? Or because of responsibility? Both. I understand. Audrey stood up and said very easily, thank you Mr. Hastur for clearing up my doubts today. You came here today just to ask this question? Hastur looked at the pretty and charming Miss Audrey in front of him with puzzled eyes. Today, she seemed to be different from usual. She obviously came with a heavy heart this time. But now, she seemed to have figured it out, and it was her turn to be puzzled. Mr. Hastur wants to leave Backland. Isn't this reason enough? Audrey also looked at Hastur with a puzzled look. The two looked at each other for a while, smiled, and tacitly changed the subject. Hastur saw that Audrey didn't want to say it clearly, so he didn't want to ask any more questions. Audrey smiled and said, Mr. Asta, can you take me away? Of course, it's my honor. He took Audrey out of the study and down the stairs. He didn't look away until Audrey got on the carriage. Audrey's arrival today was like a breeze blowing gently, and then quietly left, leaving only a little thought that people couldn't guess. Asta didn't think too much about this issue. Audrey's arrival today was obviously heard from Earl Hall. He estimated that he would be promoted to a noble title and then sent to South Wales. This was what he had been looking forward to. I just don't know if it will be at the end of the year or after the new year. Asta sighed. He naturally hoped to leave Backland after the new year, but if the situation was too tense, he would be sent to South Wales at the end of the year. He didn't think too much about it. His head still hurt a little, and his mood was much more irritable than usual. After returning to the restaurant and enjoying breakfast, Hasta ignored Ashera who was staring at him, but went back to the room, ruthlessly locked Ashera outside the door, and continued to sleep. At night, the stars in the sky were so bright that even the light of the crimson moon seemed to be obscured. In the Hall of Stars, Hasta sat in the first place, silently sensing the new changes in the Hall of Stars. The fourth chain of order hung behind him, the starry sky above his head became more brilliant, and 2 more stars lit up. Hasta was able to master these routine changes quickly. In addition to these changes, the entire Hall of Stars was suspended and kept flying into the sky, giving a feeling of returning to the starry sky. The Hall of Stars stopped moving only after reaching a certain height, and the stars that were originally suspended above his head were now much closer. This means that the power exerted by the Hall of Stars on the stars has been enhanced in the future. For example, if the chain of order rolled up the power of the Hall of Stars and swung it at the beginning, it is estimated that 1 whip would make the Hall of Stars doubt his life. In addition to this, the Hall of Stars also gave him 2 new abilities, Return to Position and Divine Enlightenment. Hasta was not unfamiliar with the term, Return to Position. As soon as he came into contact with the Hall of Stars, he knew that the ruler here was the one who returned to the position of the stars. At this moment, the Hall of Stars truly gave him the ability to return to his position, which finally made him feel that he was the master of this place. In the past, he was more like taking advantage of the master's absence, then secretly opening the door, temporarily living here, and then inviting the stars to gather here. If there were stars secretly messing around, it would be difficult for him to punish them, and he could only deal with their clones. But this time, he truly became the master of this home and had the ability to target the stars. Return to Position, its real ability is, let the stars move along the established orbit according to their own wishes. For example, when facing the Superstar Overlord and the Mother Tree of Desire, he can guide them to temporarily give up participating in the war between the South Continent and the North Continent. When his will began to spread with the help of the power of the Hall of Stars, the Superstar Overlord and the Mother Tree of Desire would be pulled by him unknowingly and return to the orbit he arranged. How strong this pulling force is depends on his strength level. If he had the strength of the Old Ones at this moment, then when his will was transmitted, the Superstar Overlord and the Mother Tree of Desire would have to follow his arrangement and return to the established track whether they were willing or not. Now it is more of a symbol of authority than an ability. In the future, he, the future returner of the stars, is the one who guides the movement of the stars. For the Old Ones of the outer gods who came to the Hall of Stars, this is both an opportunity and a bondage. They came to the Hall of Stars and enjoyed the convenience given to them by the Hall of Stars. As this connection deepened, the bond between them and themselves became deeper, and in the end, they could not get rid of their influence. This may be the real reason why the Hall of Stars gave him the authority to pull the Old Ones of the outer gods to hold a gathering of stars at the beginning. Now, he is sequence 6, so the strength of the clones of the Old Ones of the outer gods who came here to hold the gathering of stars is also at the sequence 6 level. When he becomes a true returner of the stars, then the real ones who come to the Hall of Stars to participate in the gathering of stars are the original bodies of the Old Ones of the outer gods. There is no free lunch in the world, and this sentence also applies to the outer gods of the old days. Hasta has already understood. It seems that he did not get much benefit from this gathering of stars, but the outer gods of the old days got a lot of convenience, but in fact, the biggest benefit is already in his hands. After a long time of understanding, Hasta focused on the ability of divine revelation. Divine revelation, as the name suggests, is the revelation from the gods. Since he can lead the stars to run according to the established orbit, then for those believers who believe in the stars devoutly, he naturally has the ability to manage them. Divine revelation, he is the one who returns the stars to their positions, and when necessary, he can also be the gods they believe in. Returning to the position is a high authority, but divine revelation is an ability he can use now. After spending a lot of time to understand this return in divine revelation, Hasta looked at the stars hanging in the sky. In addition to the 6 stars at the beginning, 2 new stars lit up at this time. Hasta did not check which outer god the 2 new stars represented, but instead looked at the star where the Mother Tree of Desire was. This time, he could not only see the Mother Tree of Desire, but also the god of evil Saya and dozens of other devout believers of the Mother Tree of Desire. Only devout believers could turn into dots of light and shine on the star of the Mother Tree of Desire. Hasta moved closer and looked at the light where the god of evil Saya was. At this moment, he had a feeling that if he wanted, he could imitate the Mother Tree of Desire and give the god of evil Saya an oracle. This is one of the abilities of divine revelation. Hasta thought about it and decided to give up giving the god of evil Saya an oracle. This was a terrifying existence of sequence 1, so he decided to try his hand with a more familiar devout believer. Mr. A. A familiar name emerged in Hasta's mind, and then he focused his attention on the star where the real Creator and Adam were. There are so many devout believers of the true Creator. Hasta looked at the densely packed light spots in the area where the true Creator was located. There were at least hundreds of light spots. Each light spot represented a devout believer of the true Creator. This number was already considerable. Just now, there were less than 10 devout believers who truly believed in the Mother Tree of Desire, and there were 10 times as many devout believers who believed in the true Creator as the Mother Tree of Desire. Hasta moved closer and observed carefully. The brightest light spot was not the Angel of Fate Ouroboros, but the Red Angel Medici. Or he should be called Soren Einhorn Medici. The status of the 3-color hot pot is higher than Ouroboros, so the light spot he presents is brighter. Just to see if Medici has escaped, Hasta clicked on the light spot symbolizing Medici. In a spacious and dark room, there were 3 high-backed chairs of different styles. Originally, each chair should have a figure sitting on it. But now, the 3 shadows have merged and entangled with each other, and no one can be separated from each other, like a whole. Now, he is no longer the proud Red Angel Medici, but an evil spirit mixed with his former mortal enemy. Seeing this, Hasta could not help but sigh that the Blood Emperor Alistair Tudor was really crazy and courageous. He actually jumped from the Black Emperor path to the Sequence 0 Red Priest of a non-similar path. What's even more outrageous is that he actually succeeded and became a half-crazy true god. Although Adam helped to fuel this, the Blood Emperor's own perseverance and courage are not comparable to ordinary people. Hasta observed for a while and then retracted his gaze. At this time, he saw the Red Angel representing war. It can be seen that this war between the North and South continents will definitely not be small, and it should not be limited to the South continent. The war will spread to South Wales. Hasta sighed, just glanced at the light spot where Ouroboros was, and then looked at the light spot representing Mr. A. Mr. A is indeed a devout believer of the true Creator, and he is indeed in these light spots. Hasta moved closer to the light spot and clearly saw that Mr. A was in a basement that looked like a temple, with a statue of the true Creator enshrined in front of him. A giant statue hanging upside down. At this moment, Mr. A was like a loyal dog, lying in front of the statue of the real Creator to rest and fall asleep. This scene was just like Susie lying at Audrey's feet, resting with her eyes closed. Mr. A was just about to wag his tail to show his loyalty to the real Creator. After observing for a while, Hasta decided to use Mr. A as the first object of his divine revelation. Hasta's mind moved, and the 4th chain of order flew quickly, touching the light spot where Mr. A was, establishing a link. In front of the statue of the real Creator, Mr. A was lying on the ground to rest, which was his way of expressing his loyalty to the Lord. And the Lord did always favor him. His code name was Mr. A, the one who was the first among all the letters, and he was also responsible for the general affairs of the Backland Aurora Society. Other believers may not encounter an oracle for several years. And he has listened to the oracle from the Lord more than once, and every conversation with the Lord is his happiest time. Unfortunately, the Lord was not awake for long, and each time he spoke, he would only leave a key summary of the relevant tasks. No matter what, he firmly believed that he was the Lord's most favored believer. Lord Ouroboros did not count, he was the Lord's son. When Mr. A was daydreaming, he suddenly felt the statue of the Lord in front of him move. The Lord, the only true God he believed in, had sent down an oracle again. Mr. A immediately got up, and then knelt quietly in front of the statue of the real Creator in a more respectful posture. He suppressed his excitement and said, "The devout believer listens to your oracle." He tilted his ears to listen to something, but heard nothing. After a few seconds of pause, Mr. A tore off his right index finger, threw the bloody finger into his mouth and chewed it. Gurgle. Mr. A's throat moved, and he swallowed the chewed finger into his stomach. After waiting for a while, the oracle he was waiting for did not come. Just as he was wondering, his consciousness was pulled into a dark world. In front of me was a vast black ocean, on top of which sat a mountain, on top of which stood a cross, with a man hanging upside down and blending in with the cross. And in the night sky at the top, there was a curtain of shadows. Welcome to Fanfic Audiobook, your go-to place for immersive audiobooks. If you enjoy the content, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to our channel for more amazing stories. This place is a holy mountain, a kingdom of God. Only the most pious and most valued believers can appear here. Mr. A trembled, his legs slid down to his knees, and he floated in the air above the black ocean. His eyes were red, his body was trembling, and he couldn't help but kowtow to the upside-down figure on the holy mountain. This is the holy mountain recorded in the classics, far away and isolated in the vast ocean. Except for the angel of fate Ouroboros, who is loved by the Lord, who can often accompany the Lord, few believers can see this holy mountain. This is the kingdom of God of the Lord. Lord, the Lord who created everything, the Lord who is the Father of all living things. Mr. A murmured almost crazily. After an unknown period of time, Mr. A gradually regained his sanity. He looked up at the kingdom of God of the Lord and knelt in the same place. The black ocean began to surge, and the Lord's eyes were cast in the shadow curtain of the night sky. Just a glance, Mr. A felt that his whole body, flesh and bones, including his soul, were all seen through one by one. He was also willing to give everything he had, including his life and soul. Stop cooperating with the witch. An oracle descended into the depths of Mr. A's mind. Before he could think about it, the world in front of him was shattered, and he had returned to the real world. In front of him, it was still the statue of the Lord. I only obey your oracle. Mr. A knelt in front of the statue and did not get up for a long time. In the Hall of Stars, Hasta recalled the feeling of seeing Mr. A at a glance just now. Under his gaze, all of Mr. A's secrets were open to him, and he even knew clearly that there was a mole on his right buttocks. Under the gaze of the stars, there were no secrets. This was the words that Hasta liked to use to fool people before, but now, he can really do it. Those devout believers are willing to dedicate everything they have to the gods in their hearts, without reservation. Asta saw Mr. A's life and the recent cooperation between the Aurora Society and the witch cult. The Backland smog incident in the original book happened just before the new year. Hasta naturally didn't want this to happen. He wanted to spend a good year in peace. He tried to send an oracle to Mr. A, asking him to terminate his cooperation with the witch cult. In this way, the probability of the Backland smog incident at the end of the year should be reduced by half. Even if it really happens, there will only be one organization, the witch cult, which is easier to deal with and will cause much less harm. Hasta thought for a while and then looked at the area where Adam was. He was very curious about who Adam's devout believers were. There were not many light spots belonging to Adam's devout believers, only a few dozen, which was about the same as the number of devout believers of the Mother Tree of Desire. This point is easy to understand. Believing in Adam and believing in the true Creator are two different concepts. What he could see were only Adam's devout believers, not the believers of the ancient sun god. Although in a sense, the two are equivalent, they have not yet merged into one. The Aurora Club created by the real Creator is basically full of his devout believers, but Adam is different. The Twilight Hermits Society he founded absorbs people from different fields, and not only believers can join. Even people like Russell who do not believe in gods can join the organization, so the loyalty and faith of the members can be imagined. More than half of the people who join the Twilight Hermits Society are ambitious people, or they are lurking traitors. Adam never cares about their beliefs, and even their little thoughts. In this case, there are very few people who truly believe in Adam. After watching the real creator and Adam, Hastur looked at the lamp god. It's pitiful, there is not a single devout believer. Hastur sighed and turned his eyes to the star where the mother tree of desire is. He saw the location of the god Saya, and also knew where he was hiding. It was a black tree that could cover the sky and the sun. At the top of the tree, there was a small sun floating, trying to emit its own light. The body of the god Saya merged into the trunk of the black tree, as if he was using it to recover from the injuries he had suffered. On the outer edge of the field of vision, there is a mountain, and beyond the mountain, there is a vast ocean. It turns out that the extraordinary people of the indulgent lineage such as the god of evil Saya are not on the land of the southern continent, but on an island on the nearby sea. No wonder the Eternal Sun Church couldn't find their whereabouts after searching the ground for 3 feet. From the beginning, they went in the wrong direction. Bernadette also didn't find the right location, and she is still searching in the depths of the primeval forest. No wonder the Mother Tree of Desire and the Superstar Lord are fearless. It turns out that they have already arranged a retreat for the god of evil Saya and others. The little sun suspended on the top of the black tree should be the backup left by the Superstar Lord. Looking at its appearance, it should be absorbing the power of the Eternal Sun to grow. This is the real reason why the Eternal Sun Church is crazy. If left alone, the gods they believe in will be replaced and then completely fall. Asta thought about all this, and then looked at the star where the Superstar Lord was. What surprised him was that the Superstar Lord actually had a devout believer. How long has he been in this world? And he has not actively spread his faith. How can he have a devout believer? Hastara took a closer look and saw a pale young man who was resting on a hospital bed with a bandage wrapped around his hand and a hospital IV drip hanging beside him. A patient. Outside the bed was not a hospital, but a large courtyard. Judging from the architectural style nearby, this should be the Republic of Intis. Could it be that the Superstar Lord has secretly developed his own faith in the hometown of the Eternal Sun? It was really scary. The more Hastara thought about it, the more he felt that this was possible. After a while, it was estimated that the faith of the Superstar Lord would flourish in the Republic of Intis. Because for ordinary believers who believe in the Eternal Sun, they cannot tell the difference between the Eternal Sun and the Superstar Lord. Only the Pope of the Eternal Sun Church and the God-loving ones can really tell the difference. After scanning a circle, Hastara looked at the 2 newly appeared stars. Hastur, the outer god in one of the stars, had seen a planet with its mouth open when he traveled through the starry sky with the high dimension overlooker. As his mouth opened and closed, the entire planet was divided into 2 halves. There was a light spot in the center of his mouth. Every time he opened his mouth, nearby meteorites or air masses would be swallowed into his mouth. Primordial hunger. Hastur had some guesses, but he was not sure. The information revealed by this big-mouthed planet was that it would occasionally eat. When Hastur's eyes kept on it, the big-mouthed planet suddenly closed its mouth and disguised itself as an ordinary planet. From the outside, this planet surrounded by blue and yellow stars is not much different from other planets in the nearby area. This scene is a bit like a man-eating plant. It looks like an ordinary flower on weekdays, but once a suitable prey approaches, it will immediately open its mouth and swallow the prey into its big mouth. Hastur observed for a while and saw that he never had any other reaction, but disguised himself as a planet without any life fluctuations, so he moved his eyes to another star. It was a huge yellow ring suspended in the depths of the starry sky, hollow in the middle. The planets on the side were insignificant in front of him. The huge ring was still rotating, without substance, like mist, flowing from one end and gathering from the other end. He formed a closed loop of fate. The Ring of Fate. Hastur could recognize his identity at first sight. This feature was too obvious, and there was no other possibility except the Ring of Fate. It must be said that the Ring of Fate was so beautiful, with a kind of atmosphere and grandeur of cosmic wonders. As Hastur's eyes kept watching, the yellow mist flowing around the Ring of Fate seemed to accelerate and complete a circle in an instant. Was it using fate to spy on his own existence? Hastur was not afraid of this. If the ring of fate could find him, then there was no reason for the fallen mother goddess to just stare blankly. The fate ring, which had turned a circle, seemed unable to spy on itself from fate, but he was not panicked at all, and continued to flow in an orderly manner according to his original rhythm. It formed a closed loop, repeating over and over again. Hastur thought of Will and Ouroboros, the two Mercury snakes and the snakes of fate. When they exerted their abilities, they often bit their tails with their mouths and completed a circle with their bodies. Forming a closed loop of fate, is this the characteristic of the path of fate? But it seems a little different. If Will took the uniqueness, became a true god at the right time, and merged the key of light, he would become the old day of the path of fate. His final form should be different from the fate ring. Because the key of light, a source of essence, did not come from the fate ring. It is a source of essence similar to the fate ring. This should be the reason why the fate ring peeked into the real world. He wanted to devour and fuse the key of light. Just for this reason, Hastur temporarily excluded him from the gathering of stars. He did not want to attract a powerful enemy from the adjacent path for Will. If necessary, the big-mouthed planet that knew how to disguise itself simply would be a very good choice. After reading all this, Hastur's head felt a little heavy, which was a symbol of the exhaustion of spiritual power. Originally, he was going to tell Bernadette about the hiding place of the evil god Saya, but now he could only choose to postpone it. Perhaps postponing it is indeed a better choice. If the hiding place of the evil god Saya and others is discovered too early, the war will break out earlier. He also wants to have a good new year in Backland. Wednesday, December 1, 1349. This year's temperature seems to be much colder than in previous years, with ice forming in many places in Backland. In the early morning, snowflakes would occasionally fall, and many nobles in Backland started a trend of enjoying the snowflakes in the early morning. When the sky is just getting bright and the crimson moon has not completely disappeared, I can make a cup of good tea and sit on the balcony of my big house, sipping tea and admiring the scattered light snow. Phew, it's really a bit cold today. Marich held up the hot tea in front of him with one hand to warm his somewhat cold palms, and then drank another glass of wine. As a living corpse, it is impossible for him to react to this kind of cold. But according to him, he is still a human being, a body of flesh and blood, not an unconscious living corpse. At this point, Hastur agreed with his idea. That's what acting out extraordinary sequences is all about. Always remember that you're just acting. Hastur looked at the light snow falling in the slightly bright sky, took a breath, and drank a cup of hot tea that warmed his stomach, feeling much more comfortable. This Backland fashion trend of enjoying the snow in the dim light was caused by him. Perhaps the news that he was going to South Wales was known to Gleek and Hibbert. The two of them often invited him out to drink and have fun, and Hastur did not refuse. It just happened more than once, and he felt it was boring, so he specially invited Greg and Hibbert to have tea and enjoy the snow at this moment when the sky was bright. Unexpectedly, as a result, a so-called fashion trend gradually set off in the aristocratic circle, and it was claimed that this was an enjoyment only for the aristocrats. You really enjoy it. Sharon, who was sitting opposite Hastur, glanced at Hastur with a somewhat complicated look. At this moment, Hastur was lying on his side on a specially customized soft couch, covered with luxurious and precious white tiger fur, and covered with an exquisite embroidered blanket sewn by hand. On his chest, Ashera was sleeping soundly on the blanket. It's time to enjoy it. After all, if you leave Backland in the future, you probably won't have such good material conditions. Hastur answered Sharon's question while caressing Ashera's head. More than a month has passed since he was promoted to Sequence 6 Corrupted Baron. During this month, except for invitations from people like Greg, Hibbert, and Grey Lint, he rarely went out. I basically stay at home every day and do something luxurious and a little decadent. He is still exploring ways to spend money to enjoy himself, and looking for ways to play the role of the corrupted baron faster. When it comes to corruption, it is generally inseparable from material enjoyment such as eating, drinking and having fun. Of course, it can also be played from the spiritual aspect. The corrupted and fallen mind is also very suitable for this sequence of performances. Come and taste this red bean in the snow jointly made by 3 pastry masters. Asta warmly entertained Marich and Sharon to taste the delicious food. He also reached out and took a piece of red and white, exquisite pastry and put it into his mouth. If Sharon and Marich weren't here, Hasta would have asked the maids to take turns bringing him food. All he had to do was open his mouth, close his eyes slightly, and enjoy it slowly. During this period, he followed Greg and the others and saw the luxurious life of many nobles. His level of enjoyment was completely incomparable with others. Asta, you have fallen. Marich ate the dessert and made an angry and regretful sound. Yes, I think about it. In this life, one should enjoy more while he is young. Mari Chichi, think about it, when your hair turns white and your teeth fall out when you are old, will you still have the ability to enjoy a good life? You are lying. There is no truer truth in the world than this. Carpe diem is also a way of life. Alas, Hasta, you were not like this before. While Marich sighed, he drank another bottle of fine wine worth 10 gold pounds and 6 souls. Sharon's eyes flickered, but she didn't say anything more about Hasta's behavior. She just couldn't believe it. If she remembered correctly, when she first met Hasta, he was just promoted to Sequence 8 Barbarian, right? Has he been promoted again in half a year? This speed was very fast, almost catching up with her, which made her feel a little nervous. Miss Sharon, when I leave Backland and head to the territory of South Wales, would you like to go with me to enjoy the southern sea view? Hasta's sudden words made Sharon's heart flutter slightly, but she still had a calm expression on her face. At this stage, I will not leave Backland. Well, that's a pity. I still want to experience a truly extraordinary adventure with you outside. Sharon moved her thin lips slightly, stopped what she wanted to say, looked at the sky outside the balcony with her blue eyes, and said calmly, the outside world is very dangerous, and Backland is the only place we have. Backland is not necessarily that safe. Asta said with emotion, then stopped the topic and said, it seems that I have to seize the time to write a few interesting stories during this period, so that I can leave it to Miss Sharon to relieve her boredom. Sharon originally wanted to say that it was very convenient to have a messenger, but in the end she didn't say anything, and just looked at the light snow outside that was about to end. It's not the coldest time for Backland yet. It won't be the coldest season for Backland until the end of January next year. But in previous years, the coldest time in Backland was around the current temperature, which means that January next year may set a new record for the coldest in Backland. I'm still looking forward to the heavy snowfall in Backland. It should be much more beautiful than now. With just a little snow, it's difficult to even wet people's clothes. Marich interjected. Asta said with a smile, perhaps this will be the warmest winter in Backland's future. No way. I feel the same way. Sharon also spoke. Prepare some coats and food, or you may starve to death later. Hasta said this in a joking tone. Oh, I am a living corpse. It is impossible for me to die of cold. It is a nobleman like you who is not diligent in his limbs, who is most likely to end up like this. South Wales is much warmer than Backland. I'm going to avoid the cold this time. The three of Hasta chatted for more than half an hour. The scorching sun had begun to rise, and the light snow in the sky was melted into small water droplets by the sunlight. Marich and Sharon left, and Ashera also woke up from her deep sleep, licked the palm of Hasta's hand, and began to meow in a pleasing manner. Ashara, would you like to have some new sets of clothes tailor-made for you? Meow. Ashera firmly opposed this suggestion. Don't be so repellent. The weather will get colder and colder in the future, and your fur isn't enough to keep you warm. Meow. Ashera, will not compromise on this issue easily. If this happens the first time, it will definitely happen a second time. I can reward you with your favorite dried fish, which is the small whitebait from the northernmost sea of the Fosak Empire. Meow. The quantity is very small. If you don't buy it early, you won't be able to taste it when the sea water freezes and the production of small whitebait drops sharply. Meow. Ashera lowered her head and raised her head high. Sometimes it is worth paying a little price for delicious food. In this regard, Hasta thought of the orcs in Warcraft. Orcs will never be slaves unless they have food and shelter. Ashera's situation should be like this. Cat people will never bow their heads unless they are presented with dried fish. In a relatively secluded royal estate in Queens, there was a closed room with dim lights and only two figures standing face to face. Mr. A said slowly, "Don't you understand? We, Jigwang, will not participate in your operation this time. This is what we agreed on before. I want to know why you suddenly went back on your word." Standing opposite Mr. A is Panatia, known as the Nightingale of Despair from the Witch sect. "We in the Aurora Society do not need to explain to you the reasons for our actions. In short, whether you are willing or unwilling to cancel the previous plan, we, the Aurora Society, will not be involved in this matter." Even when facing the Sequence 4 desperate witch, Mr. A's tone was neither humble nor arrogant, and he didn't care at all about the other party's demigod status. Panatia sneered and said, "Oh, you, Mr. A, can't decide this matter, right?" Mr. A just looked at him with pity, as if looking at a clown, and waved his hand. "I have already said what I need to say, and I have no interest in wasting time here with you. Is this an oracle from your lord?" Panatia seemed to have thought of something and her face changed slightly, but Mr. A didn't give her an answer at all. He opened the window and turned into a gust of wind and flew away from the window. Could it really be the latest oracle from the true creator? Panatia was a little unsure. Mr. A's attitude just now was worth her thoughts. "Forget it, let's leave this matter to the Lady White Saint to decide." Panatia walked out of the room and went to the second floor of the manor, to a room at the end of the corridor on the right. In the room, sitting in front of the dressing table by the window, was a girl who looked innocent, cute, gentle and sweet. She has smooth black hair, a round face, and slender eyes. Her facial features are not very outstanding, but when combined, they give people a very comfortable and reassuring feeling. Panatia glanced at the ring on the girl's finger and said with a smile, "Tris, you were very good today. You didn't even run away while I was chatting with others." The girl named Tris didn't speak, she just looked at the increasingly unfamiliar face in the mirror. Obviously that person was herself, but she just felt strange, as if it was another person with the same appearance as herself. "No need to doubt, that's you, a brand new you, a you full of infinite charm." Panatia walked behind the girl, picked up the comb on the dressing table, and began to comb the girl's slightly messy hair. Reaching out to touch, the hair was silky, just need to tidy it up gently, and the black hair will return to uniform and smooth. "She is not me, she is the me you expect, not the me I want to be." The girl clenched her fists, her tone was sharp and full of anger. "It's all the same, you don't need to reject it, just learn to accept it silently. Many things in this world are not centered around you alone. Learning to accept is always happier than resisting." "Haha, do you think I will believe you? Then do you think I will care about your trust?" The girl stopped talking, but there was a little more sadness between her eyebrows. Panatia leaned down, rested her chin on the girl's right shoulder, sniffed the fragrance of her hair, and then slowly said, "You said before that you wanted to make friends. Madame Germani and her sister will come to visit you later. You can talk to them. They will let you know how to be a good witch." Half an hour later, the girl met Madame Germani and her sister as she wished. Compared to the confident and arrogant sister, the girl was more willing to chat with Madame Germani, who was still a little restrained. "How do you think to be a good witch?" This topic was raised by Panatia, who was standing by. Moraka sneered, "This is really a good question. Not only should we answer it, but you should also think about this question. Who makes the witch's road full of so much pain?" Panatia looked normal and said lightly, "We are all children of the original, so we naturally have to get close to the original. This kind of rhetoric again, it's meaningless." Moraka was very disdainful of this and had no intention of answering this question again. "The reason I want to become a witch is just to please someone." Germani's words shocked the girl. She asked with some expectation, "Witches, can they really like someone?" "Of course, we are women first, and then witches. Since we are not born witches, we naturally have the right to like and hate like ordinary women. Your idea is very different. Really. Of course, look at the two of them. They obviously sneer at what you say, but they can't help but want to hear what you say interestingly." Germani just smiled and said, "I don't think liking someone is something worth being ridiculed. So you are different from them. The girl asked Panatia and Moraka to leave, and she was alone in a room with Mrs. Germani. Can you satisfy my curiosity? I never thought of hiding this matter. Germani told the girl about her experience of why she became a witch. Baron Hasta Campbell. Well, he is a very different person. Mrs. Germani showed a complicated expression on her face, and said with some reminiscence, at the beginning, I couldn't tell when I fell in love with him. Maybe I fell unconsciously. It may also be because of the desire to conquer and rebellious psychology caused by frequent rejections. Later, I gradually figured it out. I don't need to think about these problems clearly. I just need to know that I really like him in my heart. The girl listened to Mrs. Germani's story silently, and then sighed, It's a pity for you to do this. Since he doesn't want to see you, I will help you make an appointment with him. I believe he can't refuse the power of a prince. No, he will refuse. Then I want to see it even more. Mrs. Germani didn't speak. She was very confident in Baron Hasta Campbell. Dinner invitation from Prince Edisic. Hasta was enjoying life at home, and butler Neil suddenly sent him an invitation. For this Prince Edisic, Hasta didn't want to get close to him at all. This is the man who loves Triss Chick, and is the center of the recent major incident. Hasta is not interested in participating in his love with a witch, so let them solve it themselves. I don't have time recently, please help me to decline this invitation. Hasta directly told butler Neil to handle it, and he didn't even want to write a reply. It's better to stay away from it to save trouble. He needs to pay attention to another thing now, but he doesn't have the heart to waste on other things. The day when the Twilight Hermits will assassinate Duke Negan is not far away. With the unfolding of the butterfly effect, Hasta is not sure when the people of the Twilight Hermits will take action. He is thinking of a better reason to tell Greg and remind Duke Negan to be prepared. After thinking about it, it is more appropriate to throw the blame to Keelingos's accomplices. After thinking of the reason, Hasta went to meet Greg that night and vaguely mentioned that the remnants of Hurricane Admiral Keelingos might assassinate Duke Negan again. Greg looked solemn and said that he would be responsible for handling this matter. At the same time, he also told Hastur an inside information that Earl Hall and Duke Negan had recommended him to the King's League to go to Southwell to assist the Grand Duke of Southwell in guarding the coastal defense line. The king meant that he could restore his former hereditary title of Earl Campbell before sending him to South Wales. Hastur was not surprised by the news, and he had already made all kinds of preparations to go to South Wales. When he returned home, butler Neil brought another letter, saying that Prince Edisic was very angry about his failure to attend the banquet. Hastur took the letter and read it. The whole letter had only one meaning: I am kind enough to give you another chance. If you don't come to the banquet on Sunday, the consequences will be serious. Wait until Sunday morning, and then you can help me reject the invitation of Prince Edisic. Isn't that bad? Butler Neil looked embarrassed. After all, the other party was a prince and a real member of the royal family. It was really unreasonable to refuse twice in a row. Just say that I had an appointment with Greg that night. Butler Neil had no choice but to act according to Hastur's wishes. On the second floor, Hastur teased Ashera with dried fish for a while, then took a bath and fell asleep on the bed. In the Hall of Stars, Hastur sat in the first seat, looking at the stars that were not far from his head. It had been more than 2 months since the last gathering of stars, and today was the day Hastur had chosen. On December 1st, the gathering would be held every 2 months, which was exactly 6 times a year. This was easier to remember, otherwise he would really forget the specific time. After thinking for a while, Hastur summoned the Mother Tree of Desire, the Superstar Overlord, and the Lamp God. As for the newly appeared Ring of Fate and the Outer God suspected to be the original Hunger, he wanted to observe for a while longer. Damn it, I actually felt that this time was so long. Just by hearing the content of the speech, Hastur knew that it was the speech of the Lamp God. The Superstar Overlord was in a good mood, and habitually taunted. It's a rare opportunity to leave the prison and temporarily regain freedom, so you naturally feel that time is long. Hee, you are isolated outside the initial barrier, aren't you also in a prison? This sentence was very well said, and the lamp god has indeed been practicing his taunting skills for the past 2 months. It's better than being sealed in the wishing lamp. Why, do you envy this treatment? Unfortunately, when Gimi chose his opponent, he didn't like you. The lamp and the superstar lord quarreled with each other as soon as they met. Only the mother tree of desire, who had been silent all the time, noticed the subtle changes in the Hall of Stars. You have recovered some of your power and authority. The mother tree of desire spoke, interrupting the quarrel between the lamp god and the superstar lord. The lamp god sensed for a while, looked at the starry sky above his head, and murmured, "The stars seem to be closer here." The superstar lord and the mother tree of desire also had this feeling. Being here, they felt suppressed. The last time the stars gathered, they didn't have this feeling. They all looked at Hasta, who was sitting in the first place. The end of the world is coming, and the stars are back. Hasta had already thought of a rhetoric to avoid the need to compile reasons temporarily. In fact, in order to prevent the mother tree of desire and other outer gods from easily noticing the changes, every time he called them to a meeting, he would deliberately lower the strength of their clones so that they would not notice the change in strength. Otherwise, the incarnation's strength was sequence 9 at the beginning, then sequence 8, and now sequence 6, and they would definitely find the abnormality. This time, it was the Hall of Stars that was raised high, and it was a big step towards returning to the starry sky, which made the mother tree of desire notice the subtle changes. The mother tree of desire and the superstar overlord looked at each other and said nothing more. Only the lamp god was in a heavy mood. The doomsday is coming, and the stars are returning to their positions, but he still can't see the hope of regaining his freedom. Does he really have to bow to this star returner to get a chance to regain his freedom? Haha, impossible. The lamp god quickly abandoned this weak idea. Even if he was mysterious at the beginning, he couldn't make him bow his head. He currently still has the hope of the high-dimensional overlooker, although his actions seem a bit unreliable. The lamp god remained silent, and the superstar lord seemed to be thinking about something. Desire thought for a while and said, "When the stars return to their positions, which stars should move in which orbit? Is it all up to the will of the stars?" Hasta did not answer this question, but said in a slightly amusing tone, "You have made quite a fuss recently." "It's just a small fight." The superstar lord replied. "The weather is getting colder and colder, and the sun's rays are not as hot as they used to be." Hasta's sudden words made the superstar lord's expression slightly moved, but he did not care too much. There will always be a new sun to replace the old sun. The lamp god interrupted and said, "The eternal sun is really unlucky. You actually targeted it. It's really a bad move to nourish yourself with the power of the eternal sun. My power is difficult to enter the initial barrier. I can only use their own power as a means. Tisk, how long will it take? 3 years. This time is really tight. It seems that the war in the southern continent is inevitable. War is the ultimate means to solve all problems. Even if we don't promote it, it will only be a matter of time before the war breaks out." The mother tree of desire also joined the topic. Hasta agreed with this sentence. Recently, Adam's Twilight Hermits are plotting to assassinate Duke Negan, which is also intended to start a war. The outbreak of a large-scale war is the wave of the times that Adam expects. Now, it's just a little bit earlier. The lamp god asked curiously, "What good will the outbreak of war bring to you? Your authority has nothing to do with war. A chaotic situation is conducive to our changing the status quo." Hearing what the mother tree of desire said, the lamp god laughed. "It turns out that your believers can't hold on, so they want to disrupt the situation through war." The mother tree of desire did not refute, but acquiesced. The Seven Gods Church joining forces is naturally nothing to him, but for his believers, this test is quite big. Especially the members of the Eternal Sun Church who were attracted by the Superstar Lord. Each one of them is like a mad dog, wishing to dig 3 feet into the ground. Faced with this situation, launching a war and disrupting the situation is a good choice. The war will be after the new year. Hasta spoke, setting the tone for this matter, and it was also his first attempt to use the authority of returning to the position. Originally, a very ordinary sentence fell into the ears of the Mother Tree of Desire, the Superstar Lord, and the Lamp God, and there was an inexplicable feeling. It seemed that the things in the southern continent should develop according to this sentence, delaying the outbreak of the war until after the new year. They don't know why the stars suddenly said this, but they understand that this sentence represents the will of the stars. The war must start after the new year. They don't care whether the war starts at the end of the year or after the new year, and they don't ask, because this time has no meaning to them. But now, the statement of the stars has forced them to pay attention. At the end of the year and after the new year, this time, is it really possible to affect some unknown fate? The stars have glimpsed the relevant future, so they think it is better for the war to break out after the new year. The lamp god is also thinking about the difference between the end of the year and after the new year. He knows more about the real world than the mother tree of desire and the superstar lord combined. This year is 1349, and after the new year is 1350. The difference between them, he can't think of it. Perhaps Bernadette may have a different opinion on this. At that time, Roussel seemed to be preparing to make a time calendar. Every year and every day represents a different fortune. There are things that are suitable to do, and there are things that are not suitable to do. It's like a prophecy book, which can give ordinary people a simple guide. Are the stars watching all this? The mother tree of desire asked her doubts. Hastur said calmly, the stars are always watching everything. What different results or different impacts will a war at the end of the year and a war after the new year lead to? Of course there is an impact. This war affects my mood for a good new year. Hastur added silently in his heart, saying, this is a development in line with the tide of the times. A development in line with the tide of the times. The mother tree of desire and the lamp god were both thinking about these words, and soon they thought of the mysterious organization, the Twilight Hermits. For beings of their level, the Twilight Hermits are not mysterious. They know that this is an organization founded by Adam, the descendant of the ancient sun god. The purpose of this organization is to resurrect or awaken the true creator. It claims that when the end of everything comes, the original creator will revive from death, wake up from slumber, return everything to himself, and create a new world and a new history. This can almost overlap with the prophecy of the end of the world and the return of the stars. Could it be that the Twilight Hermits is an organization that believes in the stars? Are they the believers of the stars? The lamp god was thinking. He had asked Bernadette to find the believers of the stars, but he had never found any. If the other party was the Twilight Hermits, Bernadette was indeed unaware. What the mother tree of desire was thinking about was whether the original creator would wake up at the end of the world. If the end of the world would lead to the awakening of the original creator, then all their plans at this moment would only accelerate the arrival of that day. When this day comes, everything returns to chaos and then evolves again. Is this what the stars mean? Mother tree of desire only felt a deep chill. Since it conforms to the trend of the times, we will wait until the next year to start this war. The superstar master who didn't know why didn't think this was a big problem at all. The mother tree of desire was silent, and the jinn didn't say anything. The superstar lord felt strange and had no intention of continuing to speak, and Hastur had no interest in continuing the conversation. His needs have been met, and the authority of returning to the throne can indeed invisibly pull the stars to move on their established orbits. Although the impact is a bit weak now, it still exists. Let's end the party today. Hastur was about to end this gathering of stars, but the jinn hesitated and finally said nothing. After sending away the mother tree of desire, the superstar master, and the jinn, Hastur's eyes looked at the stars of the high-dimensional overlookers. The mother tree of desire and the superstar master have already stated that if the high-dimensional overlookers do not cause any trouble, then it is highly likely that the war in the southern continent will break out in the next year. The high-dimensional overlooker is still on the sea and has not set foot on the southern continent. The ship beside him has been replaced by a new ship from the Immortal, an ironclad ship from the Kingdom of Loan. I don't know when he captured an armored ship. He is really good at playing. Hastur glanced at it for a few times and then looked away. After sitting quietly in the Hall of Stars for a while, Hastur went offline to sleep. Monday, December 6th. Asta, who is still staying at home, once again received a letter from Prince Edsak. The tone in the letter was not as friendly as last time, but full of anger, asking him why he didn't go to the dinner, whether he didn't give him face, and look down on him. In response, Hasta just pretended not to see the letter. That Prince Edsac had no real power, he just had an empty prince title. No matter how angry he was, there was nothing he could do about himself. He would not take risks at the banquet. Who knows if this is an arrangement from 008 or the idea of the witch. Otherwise, Prince Edsac had a completely unrelated relationship with him, so why would he frequently invite him to banquets? And he was angry because he didn't attend the dinner. Could it be that Prince Edsac was boasting in front of others, but in the end he found that he ignored him at all, so he became angry. In a royal manner, Prince Edsac threw a piece of porcelain on the ground in anger. He was really angry that Baron Hasta Campbell rejected his invitation again. No matter how hard and soft he tried, Baron Hasta Campbell always used some random excuses to stall him. How could he have the face to meet the girl who was waiting for his reply? If he can't even do this little thing, he's still the prince of the Loan Kingdom. Okay, if you don't come to see me, I'll go see you. Prince Edsac regained his composure and asked his servants to prepare the carriage. He wanted to personally meet the young nobleman who had been praised by Duke Negan and Earl Hall many times. When the carriage drove out of the manor and was about to go to its destination along the King's Road, an accident suddenly happened. The coachman who was driving the carriage accidentally knocked down a noble lady who was walking. What bad luck! Edsac cursed secretly and had no choice but to give up the idea of visiting Baron Hasta today, stepped out of the carriage in person, and began to deal with the unexpected disaster in front of him. In a small house with a stream running through it, on the desk next to the window, on an open yellow diary, a magic pen that no one is holding is writing a paragraph in the diary. Prince Edsac became angry because Baron Hasta Campbell refused banquet invitations many times, causing him to be embarrassed in front of a beautiful girl. He wanted to visit him in person. This is normal behavior, but such a meeting seems to lead to things beyond control. Baron Hasta Campbell, this is a man full of mysteries, he is hard to see through. Oh, damn, where did this mysterious person come from? Destiny begins to turn. It's over, Ince Zangwill has established a small connection with Prince Edsac because of his affairs. I hope such a connection will not cause Ince Zangwill to die. Poor Ince Zangwill, his fate is as bumpy as ever. The Avengers from Tingen are also looking for his traces, and are getting closer and closer. When the war begins, what will be the fate of Ince Zangwill, who has lost the protection of fate in the chaotic situation? Well, he will die, and die miserably. When writing here, one hand held the pen, crossed out the last sentence, and turned to write another paragraph. When the war begins, Ince Zangwill will survive this cold winter night and be promoted to a higher sequence. This paragraph only existed for a period of time, and then it automatically dissipated into nothingness, without even a drop of ink left on the diary. Ince Zangwill was silent for a while, then wrote another paragraph. Prince Edsac was busy dealing with the matter of knocking down the Countess of Kessman, and gradually forgot about visiting Baron Hasta Campbell. The two of them missed each other and did not meet. Everything is still going on, and this little thing has come to a halt. Nothing beyond control has happened, and Baron Hasta Campbell is no longer involved. Ince Zangwill stopped writing here. His face was a little pale, and sweat was slightly on his forehead. He didn't want to involve the mysterious Baron Hasta Campbell, a mysterious figure that even 008 couldn't see through. In his current situation, it was not suitable to provoke other enemies. As for the three hunters from Tingen, he was not too worried. After finishing his work here, he would leave Backland. And they still needed to serve in the Church of the Goddess of Night, so they couldn't leave Backland to find themselves. The next day, the sun shone through the window, and a few new paragraphs appeared in the diary on the desk. The girl who seduced Prince Edsac was very interested in the mysterious Baron Hasta Campbell. She wanted to leave the manor and visit him in person, but was stopped and could not leave smoothly. The girl seemed to have noticed something strange. She asked Talum, a subordinate loyal to Prince Edsac, to find Baron Hasta Campbell and ask for his help. Talum left the manor smoothly and came to the home of Baron Hasta Campbell. Unfortunately, Baron Hasta Campbell was out and not at home. They missed a great opportunity. Meeting opportunity. Quote. Many interruptions disrupted the changes of the established destiny, which made the Baron Hasta Campbell alert. He knew the existence of Ince Zangwill and thought that all these coincidences were caused by Ince Zangwill behind the scenes. Quote, "Poor Ince Zangwill, miserable Ince Zangwill, he was really abandoned by fate, especially when facing the darling of fate, his misfortune became more obvious." Quote, "When Ince Zangwill, who had not finished breakfast and only hurriedly took a piece of white bread to fill his stomach, saw these paragraphs, his whole face became gloomy. He had obviously tried his best to avoid the Baron Hasta Campbell, and even deliberately arranged accidents to prevent Prince Edsac from disturbing him. But now, holding 008 and writing the script, he has become the mastermind behind all this and needs to take the blame for these coincidences. It was really unfair. He never wanted to provoke Baron Hasta Campbell, but fate seemed to have been converging in his direction, so that he successfully alarmed Baron Hasta Campbell and brought himself a great enemy. The script failed on him, and I, who wrote the script, suffered backlash from him." Ince Zangwill, who had mastered 008 for a while, vaguely understood why this series of events occurred. When the script he wrote involved Baron Hasta Campbell, all the established scripts became invalid, and things began to develop in a direction that he could not control. There are only two reasons for this situation. One is to suppress 008's status, and the other is to be protected by some kind of power. At present, 008's ability to write scripts has been suppressed, and even the power to write scripts has been gradually deprived, and everything is developing in an uncontrollable and unknown direction. Now there are only two ways before him. One way is to do nothing, give up the script that is about to be written to the end, and leave Backland quickly, which will bring him safety. The second way is to actively eliminate all factors that interfere with the development of the script, so that the script can usher in a gorgeous finale as written at the beginning. At this time, a large paragraph of text appeared in the diary. "Oh my God, Ince Zangwill, who has successfully promoted to Sequence 4 Night Watch, actually wants to escape from Backland like a stray dog. Oh, what caused Ince Zangwill to have such an idea? A young noble, Baron Hasta Campbell, who just turned 18 this year. Ince Zangwill is so afraid of a young man he has never met. Where is his courage? Hey, it turns out that even the Backland sewer rats are more courageous than him. At least they dare to come out and steal food." Quote, 008's unabashed mocking words made Ince Zangwill's already gloomy face even more ugly. He didn't know why he had just thought of evacuating Backland. He had already seen someone who couldn't be swayed by a script with Klein when he was in Tingen. It was indeed difficult, but he was still the one who won in the end, and he was successfully promoted to the Sequence 4 Night Watch because of this. Why is he still afraid? There was the witch sect and the Lowen royal family behind him. How could he have the shameful thought of escaping from Backland? Haha, no matter what, living is the winner. The ridicule from 008 only made Ince Zangwill's idea of evacuating Backland even stronger. For the sake of face and promise, he should stay in Backland, and then continue to arrange the fate of coincidence through 008, overcome difficulties and obstacles, and complete the final chapter of the script. But he was more willing to listen to his inner voice and leave Backland. Before everything breaks out, stay away from Backland. No amount of face or agreement is as important as being alive. He doesn't believe 008's nonsense. 008 must be hiding some important information. If he continues to stay in Backland, it will be the most dangerous. He is not an abandoned disciple of fate. Fate has given him enough reminders through this series of events. Leave Backland. After making the decision, Ince Zangwill held 008, put it into a pen box specially designed to store it, then closed the diary and looked out the window at the sunlight shining on the stream, sparkling and unhurried. Slowly eat the white bread in your hand. What? You want to leave Backland? Panatia was shocked by Ince Zangwill's resignation. How could she suddenly leave Backland? As agreed, I have successfully arranged a lot of things for you. As for the finishing work, that is your own problem, and I don't want to get involved. Ince Zangwill looked calm as he drank plateau coffee from the southern continent. The taste is very bitter, and there is no sugar added at all, which makes the bitterness very long-lasting and the fragrance is more obvious. I want to know why you want to leave Backland at this time. Panatia suppressed the anger in her heart and stared at Zangwill with sharp eyes. I want to go to the southern continent before the war breaks out. There is what I need there. There are only 10 days left until the plan is implemented, are you so impatient? Haha, one day is enough to change a lot of things. I also want to spend the new year in the southern continent this year. Zangwill asked again, don't you even have the ability to hold on for more than 10 days? If that's the case, then I have to leave Backland. Panatia looked ugly, but she could not stop Zangwill's decision, but this did not mean that she would let Zangwill leave Backland so smoothly. If you can't deal with Mr. A who is backed by Aurora, how can you still deal with a Sequence 4 Night Watchman? Stay. A sound suddenly sounded, and Zangwill's expression moved slightly. He subconsciously stood up and looked at the source of the sound. Inside the room, a woman wearing a simple, holy white robe appeared at some point. Katerina Pellet, the White Saint of the Witch Sect, the Ageless Witch of the Witch Path Sequence 3. I am just an equal partner with you, not your prisoner. Zangwill's tone was obviously not as tough as before. I don't care about this cooperation. I keep you for another reason. Catalina's voice is nice and young, making people feel comfortable listening to it, and it extinguishes the anger in their hearts without even realizing it. What reason? I want to know why you are so eager to escape from Backland. Catalina stared at Zangwill's eyes with a pair of deep and childish blue eyes, observing all the subtle changes in his expression. She was really just out of curiosity. Mr. A from the Aurora Society suddenly told him unilaterally not to participate in this plan. Now, Zangwill also wants to escape Backland. She wanted to know what the reason was. This time, the witch cult sent 2 immortal witches, one bright and one dark. With the power of the Lowen royal family, there is nothing to fear in Backland. As for the descent of the gods, the eyes of the gods are now focused on the southern continent. Unless the situation is too outrageous, there will be no descent of the gods in Backland. But the Aurora Society, which has always been daring and daring, retreated without a formal reason. Obviously, they also need to absorb the negative emotions in the dock area to make their lord's offspring descend. Now, even Zangwill, the archbishop who defected from the Church of the Night, is thinking of fleeing Backland. There must be reasons that they don't understand. I have a feeling that it will be dangerous for me to continue staying in Backland. Zangwill still truthfully stated the reason why he chose to leave Backland. Where does the danger come from? Unknown dangers are the most frightening. Where is the source? A person I can't see through, Baron Hasta Campbell. Zangwill's eyes moved slightly, and he told his findings in detail. Since the other party didn't want him to leave Backland now, let him deal with the matter of Baron Hasta Campbell himself. Wait until the matter is over before leaving, unless you want to be a traitor again. Katerina did not give Zangwill a chance to refuse, and continued, the closer we are to the end, the more we must be wary of additional factors that may hinder the plan. Yes. Panatia nodded respectfully. She was the person in charge of cooperating with Zangwill and others this time. As for the White Saint, she came to Backland to deal with other things. Have you found the believers of the stars? Not yet. All forces have been very quiet recently. The last fake believer of the stars incident made many people more cautious. Hurry up. Katerina asked a few more questions about the girl and disappeared. No one knew where she went. Your witch sect actually sent out an immortal witch this time. It's really unexpected. Zangwill's tone was indignant. They had agreed to cooperate, but now they were using force to prevent him from leaving Backland. There are many things you can't imagine. Panatia was in a good mood and urged Zangwill to go back and write the script to avoid things that were not planned. Asta, whose good mood was disturbed many times, became more and more dissatisfied with Zangwill hiding behind the scenes and using 008 to arrange a series of coincidences. He just learned that when Prince Edisic was riding in a carriage to see him a few days ago, he accidentally bumped into a countess. And when Talum, Edisic's subordinate, came to find him, he happened to be out of the house, and missed another opportunity. One coincidence after another made Hastur suspect that Zangwill had been hiding behind the scenes and staring at him. In this case, he would help Leonard and Klein find Zangwill, at least not let him be too idle. What Asta couldn't figure out was why Ince Zangwill suddenly targeted him. He had either stayed at home or was busy arranging the affairs of the factory and the law firm, and had not done anything extra. He had not even paid attention to the Capin case that had been making a lot of noise some time ago. Ince Zangwill, you are really a bit too much. Asta sighed and looked at the time. It was past 10 o'clock in the evening. He took a bath again, then lay on the bed and entered the Hall of Stars. He planned to use his ability to spy on fate to find out the whereabouts of Ince Zangwill. Since Ince Zangwill had arranged himself with 008, there must be a corresponding fate connection. He didn't believe that he couldn't catch this big rat hiding in the dark. In the dark world, images of Ince Zangwill and traces of 008 soon appeared. Although they had means to cover up divination, Ince Zangwill and 008 were nowhere to hide in the relevant fate. Being in the Hall of Stars, he could even spy on the past of the outer gods. Soon, Hasta opened his eyes and materialized a piece of paper, depicting the current residence of Ince Zangwill and the conspicuous buildings and environment nearby. In order to prevent 008 from discovering that he was targeting Ince Zangwill in advance, Hasta used the power of the Hall of Stars to enhance his authority in secret and give himself corresponding good luck. After doing all this, Hasta tried to spy on Ince Zangwill's final fate. He had not tried to directly spy on a person's final fate in this way, so he just used Ince Zangwill to practice. In the dark and lightless world in his eyes, the fragments of Ince Zangwill's fate kept flashing like meteors until the last fragment of fate. Under the illumination of the scarlet moon, there was a dense forest with a castle-like building on the side. Ince Zangwill half knelt, raised his head, and looked at the scarlet moon in the sky. This was the last scene. As to whether it was the last moment of Ince Zangwill's death, Hasta could not tell. The only thing that can be known is that the fate of Ince Zangwill has changed. According to the original trajectory, he should have died under Klein's death knell gun, but there was no shadow of Klein in the picture just now. Also, Klein's own destiny has changed, and it is normal for Ince Zangwill's destiny to change. Hasta opened his eyes and began to think about how to reveal Ince Zangwill's residence to Klein and Leonard. As for how Klein and Leonard want to target Ince Zangwill, that is their business. After settling the matter of Ince Zangwill, Hasta's eyes swept around the stars as usual, and then landed on the star where the true creator resides. Did the true creator know about the last oracle he sent to Mr. A? After observing for a while, there was nothing unusual. Aurelius in the picture had long hair that reached his waist, standing on the top of the mountain, looking at the sea in the distance. It seemed like he could go on like this forever if no one disturbed him. Hasta withdrew his gaze and observed the two new stars. The Big Mouth planet, which is suspected to be the original Hungry planet, still maintains its disguise. The Ring of Fate continuously circulates the unknown fate. It shows no abnormal behavior in response to the peaks from the stars. Calm and confident. This will be a very difficult alien god to deal with. Early morning, a royal manor. On the bed, the girl was nestling in the arms of Prince Edsack, complaining to him about what had happened these days. I also think it's too much of a coincidence. How could he suddenly bump into Countess Kessman that day? According to the coachman's later recollection, he didn't notice anyone in front of him at all at that time. He didn't react until he bumped into someone, and then I saw Countess Kessman lying on the road. Prince Edsack also had vivid memories of what happened that day. I have already promised in front of Lady Germany that I will definitely invite Baron Hasta Campbell. You don't want me to break my promise in front of my friends, right? The girl's sad and coquettish tone made Prince Edsack's heart almost melt. Okay, today I will go see Baron Hasta Campbell again to see if there will be any accidents. Prince Edsack made a guarantee on this matter, and then in the afternoon, the king suddenly came to him with something, and he could only give up his plan to see Hasta again. After the girl learned the news, she became more and more certain that Baron Hasta Campbell had the ability to change her situation. Otherwise, such coincidences would not always happen. She also found Prince Edsack's loyal subordinate Talum and asked him to go to Baron Hasta Campbell's house tomorrow. Even if he stayed there all the time, he must see Baron Hasta Campbell. The next day, the servants received news about Talum's death. Panatia came specially to see the girl, reached out and pinched her chin, and said coldly, "Stay here with peace of mind, and don't do anything stupid again, unless you want to kill more people. It was indeed you who killed Talum. A subordinate who is obsessed with your charm will die when he dies. No one will be sad about his death, including that Prince Edsac." The girl was silent for a while, then sarcastically said, "If you are really omnipotent, why don't you dare to let me see Baron Hasta Campbell? Are you afraid of something?" Panatia frowned slightly. This was the second time she heard this name. The last time she heard it was from Inszangwil. "This is not something you should worry about." Panatia released her grip on the girl's chin, turned around and left the room. She felt that it was necessary to see Baron Hasta Campbell to avoid being spoiled by him. Should I report it to the superiors first? Panatia thought for a while and felt that it was not necessary. He's just a baron, and he's still so young. If you just observe him from a distance, nothing big will happen. Late at night, Panatia left the manor and prepared to go to the house of Baron Hasta Campbell to see what was going on. In order not to attract attention, she did not choose to travel through the spirit world, but took a carriage to go there. It's also in Queens and can be reached in about 20 minutes by car. The carriage rumbled forward, and it quickly traveled for more than 20 minutes, with no sign of stopping. It wasn't until more than half an hour later that the carriage stopped. Panatia opened the curtain of the carriage and was about to get out of the carriage when she suddenly discovered that the Holy Wind Church was directly opposite. He actually came to the Church of Storm's stronghold in Backland. And he was still in front of the gate of Holy Wind Church. The majestic Holy Wind Church, even in the dark night, can make people feel a fierce breath of the storm. Panatia felt her scalp tingling and her face slightly pale, especially when she saw the Archbishop looking at her with doubtful eyes inside the gate of the Holy Wind Church. She felt her heart skip a beat, and quickly put down the curtain of the carriage, returned to the carriage and sat down, trying to use a calm tone to ask the coachman to turn around and return. Not to mention the gate of the Holy Wind Church, even within a few hundred meters nearby, it is a restricted area for those who are called pagans. If there is no reasonable and worthy superficial identity, she dare not approach here. The only thing Panatia is thankful for now is that the carriage did not rush directly into the Holy Wind Church just now, otherwise she would never be able to escape. At this time, she no longer cared about why she came to the Holy Wind Church. Leave here quickly, and don't be discovered by the Archbishop of the Holy Wind Church. Just when the carriage was about to start again, a young clergyman came here and stopped the carriage. "Dear lady, is there anything difficult that you need help with when you visit me late at night?" "Nothing, I just happened to pass by." Panatia pretended to be calm and answered perfunctorily. "Madam, you don't need to be ashamed to speak up. It is normal to seek the protection of the gods. God is willing to accept all devout believers. I have never believed in the storm. God welcomes any lost lamb. Do you mind coming down to chat for a few minutes?" Panatia was annoyed by the difficulty of this young clergyman, but soon realized that something was wrong. People in the Storm Church often act simply and roughly. How could they have such patience? Not good. Damn it. He is stalling for time. Panatia didn't care about exposing her identity, and directly tore open a spiritual world channel, trying to leave here by shuttling through the spiritual world. Boom. The moment she entered the spiritual world, she was blasted out by the thunder that had been waiting for a long time. The extraordinary people of the Storm Church had long expected that she would leave here in this way, so they ambushed her in the spiritual world in advance. Damn, when did these believers of the storm become so cunning? Panatia was terrified and angry, and hurriedly smashed the carriage and fled to a densely populated area in the distance. Suddenly, circles of thunder halos shrouded her surroundings, like a thunder prison, isolating her from the real world. Dark clouds gathered in the sky, and even more terrible thunder was about to fall. Panatia wanted to break through the blockade, but the raging storm blocked all her retreat routes. She had no other way to leave except to tear open this thunder prison by force. And brute force has never been the witch's way. She could only gather layer after layer of ice to protect her body and block the surging thunder. Just when she couldn't bear it and was about to kneel down under the thunder, someone tore open the spirit world, grabbed her shoulders, and took her away from here at a very fast speed. It's a pity that we couldn't catch her. The one who rescued her was very strong, not just Sequence 4. The witch cult suddenly sent so many strong people to Backland. What are they trying to plot? Strange, why did this desperate witch suddenly come to the gate of the church tonight? She shouldn't be that stupid, right? Maybe she doesn't know why she is here. What kind of existence can completely deceive the perception of a desperate witch? Not sure, there are too many terrifying existences hidden in Backland. Are you still chasing? Forget it, the current situation in Backland is too complicated. We should be careful not to be used as a gun by those with ulterior motives. The eyes of God are watching the southern continent. We should not make trouble at this time. The thunder around dissipated, and the Holy Wind Church quickly returned to its previous tranquility. Ha, stupid. In a forest near a manor, Panatia was slapped to the ground. But she didn't dare to complain at all. On the contrary, she had to thank the other party for saving her at the risk of God's descent. That was the gate of the Holy Wind Church. Any unexpected situation would attract the attention of the Lord of Storms. You actually ran to the gate of the Holy Wind Church alone. Do you really want to give some merit to the Archbishop guarding there? If I wasn't in that area, you would be blown to pieces by thunder. Panatia lowered her head and dared not speak timidly. She was really scared. Her original intention was to see what kind of person Baron Hasta Campbell was. For safety reasons, she chose to take a time-consuming carriage, but who knew that the coachman actually drove the carriage to the gate of the Holy Wind Church, and she didn't notice it at all. What's more terrifying is that when she opened the curtain of the carriage, she just met the eyes of the Archbishop. All this is just right. If it weren't for the help of the Black Saint in front of her, she would have been arranged properly tonight and died in a confused state. When the Black Saint's anger was almost gone, Panatia stood up from the ground, her cheeks were already red and swollen. I've heard that this Black Saint likes to slap people, and it really hurts. Tell me about it. I originally wanted to take a look at Baron Hasta Campbell tonight, but I didn't expect that he would appear at the gate of Holy Wind Church out of nowhere. Needless to say, stay away from that Baron Hasta Campbell in the future, and don't try to commit suicide again. Before Panatia could ask why, the Black Saint had disappeared. Just like her title, she likes darkness, blends into darkness, and disappears into darkness. Who is Baron Hasta Campbell? Who is secretly arranging her whereabouts tonight? Is that someone even the Black Saint is afraid of? After standing there for a while, Panatia realized that she was seriously injured and needed treatment. When she thought that there were still more than 10 days left, the plan was about to come to an end, and her injuries would not have time to recover. Hasta slept soundly tonight, and he didn't wake up from his sleep until spirituality reminded him that something had happened. Something was wrong with Will's folded paper crane. It should be that Will had sent some important news. Lift the quilt and get out of bed, turn on the light, go to the window, and find the paper crane responsible for delivering the message. It says, "Don't sleep. Remember to deliver the latest ice cream tomorrow." Tisk, with a tone of asking for credit, did Will do anything important tonight? Hasta thought for a moment, then untied a paper crane and placed it in the palm of his hand, then went to bed. In the dream, Will did not appear, but just played a short video to Hasta. The Witch of Despair started to pay attention to herself, then took a carriage to find herself, and finally came to the gate of the Holy Wind Church. With a stunned look on her face, she received a violent beating from the extraordinaries of the Church of Storms. If the Black Witch hadn't taken action, she would have died in a daze. Well done, Will. Hasta was very satisfied with Will's handling of the matter. In the future, if the witch cult people came to disturb him again, he would ask Will to send them all to the gate of the church one by one. Today is the Holy Wind Church, but tomorrow it can be changed to St. Samuel's Church. I believe they are happy to welcome guests from afar. After all, this is a lot of credit for bringing it to their door. It's just a pity that the Witch of Despair wasn't beaten to death by Brother Storm. Hasta thought for a while and was prepared to pretend that nothing happened, but then he thought about it, this was wrong. This time the witch cult disturbed his sleep, shouldn't he pay some price for it? After all, even Will, the Mercury Snake, has taken action, so he still needs to recover some of the ice cream cost, right? We can't let Will's attack go in vain. It just so happened that Ashera's assassin potion was almost completely digested, and she was worried about the next potion formula. Oh, it's okay if you're not dead, but if you're dead, it won't be easy to collect mental damage fees. Hasta thought about it in his mind, and then went to the Hall of Stars. By peering into the related fates, it is easy to find the residence of the unlucky witch. Early the next morning, a letter was delivered to Panadia. After she read the contents of the letter with a confused look on her face, her anger surged up and went straight to her forehead, and the finger bones that clenched the letter turned white. It was obvious that he was the victim last night, but the other party still had the nerve to demand compensation for his mental damages. Moreover, the lion opened his mouth and wanted to pay for the witch path potion formula from sequence 8 to sequence 5. The total value of this is close to 10,000 gold pounds. What's even more annoying is that she doesn't dare to refuse this request. She didn't want to walk on the street in the future, and then suddenly walk to St. Samuel's Church, and be surrounded and beaten by the extraordinary people from the Church of the Night. The experience last night was so horrific that she didn't notice anything unusual from beginning to end. This is enough to show that the strength of the person secretly far exceeds his own, and maybe more than just sequence 3. Such people, no, they are angels on earth. Panadia's heart was trembling, and when she thought that she was under the gaze of an angel last night, she felt a deep chill covering her whole body. At this moment, she felt that her injuries were aggravated. Through this incident, she deeply understood the truth that in Backland, one should keep a low profile and it is best to keep one's tail between one's legs. Brave bar. Quiet nights, noisy drinkers, sometimes accompanied by a few flirtatious drunken words. Hasta sat at the bar and ordered a blue and red cocktail. Regarding Ince Zangwill, he decided to tell Leonard personally what he had experienced during this period. He believed that he, who had been arranged by 008, could understand whose handiwork this inexplicable coincidence came from. After waiting for about half an hour, Leonard walked in through the bar door. As soon as he came in, he asked the bartender to serve him wine, and also recorded the wine Hasta drank on his account, saying that he wanted to make up for the previous meal he owed. In response, Hasta ordered another glass of wine worth 1 gold pound and 4 soldi. Leonard's mouth twitched slightly and said, "Although I have some spare money now and can afford a meal, you have to take it easy." Quote. After saying that, he also ordered a glass of wine that was as expensive as Asta. You can't treat others to a good drink while you drink cheap Southwell beer. After drinking a few glasses of wine, Asta began to mention what happened to him during this period, intentionally or unintentionally, and finally said, "What the hell, I always feel that what happened recently is too coincidental, and I don't know what kind of bad luck I have." Quote. Leonard was interested and said, "A continuous coincidence. I have had such an experience before, and it was not a good experience." Have you had the same experience? Well, before I came to Backland. Leonard began to talk about what he encountered in Tingen, but skipped the incident between Ince Zangwill and 008. So do you think this coincidence is destined? Leonard heard this and shook his head. Maybe there are some forces that we don't understand, hiding in the dark, secretly affecting our daily lives. Asta thought for a moment and said, "I have some impression of the Tingen you just mentioned. Did a defecting archbishop come to your place and cause a lot of trouble? You know about this. I have heard from friends that the archbishop's name seems to be Ince Zangwill. A friend of mine once met him in Backland." Real. Leonard's mood suddenly became excited, and his eyes were fixed on Hasta, hoping that he would tell more about Ince Zangwill. Klein also mentioned to him last time that Ince Zangwill was hiding in Backland, but he could never find his hiding place. My friend has a high status. When he came to see me some time ago, he suddenly knocked down a countess. It was unexpected and sudden. Hasta used Prince Edsack, whom he had never met, as a shield. He kept disturbing him. This was the price he should pay. Can you please reveal the identity of your friend? Hasta glanced around, then lowered his voice and said, Prince Edsack, a true member of the royal family. Such a high status indeed. Leonard couldn't help but sigh. The Hasta in front of him was worthy of being of noble origin, and he even had a prince as a friend. He recently fell in love with a girl, Well, an ordinary girl without aristocratic status. He even insisted on getting married to her. You know, not long ago, he had been in love with the daughter of Earl Hall's family, but in the blink of an eye, he fell in love with her like crazy. I fell in love with another girl, and I don't know what kind of magic power that girl has. Maybe there really is some magic, Leonard said thoughtfully. If that girl was a witch, it would be easy to explain the behavior of Prince Edsac, who fell in love with someone else in a short period of time. Oh, I forgot, you have met such a girl before, and you have only met Miss Serafina a few times. Leonard looked away awkwardly, his eyes a little wandering. He really didn't want to mention this topic. That Miss Serafina was not an ordinary witch, but a Sequence 3 immortal witch. She almost ate him up that night. Leonard, do you still believe in love now? Of course I believe it. Leonard answered reluctantly, but he was cursing in his heart. What bullshit love, whoever wants to believe it is a fool. Asta said happily, it seems that you have completely overcome the painful shadow of breaking up with Miss Serafina. Asta, although I don't care so much now, we should talk less about her and let everything in the past drift away with the wind. Leonard really doesn't want to talk about this topic. If he invites the ageless witch again, he may not have the same good luck as last time. But Miss Serafina is already here. Leonard was so frightened that he quickly turned around and looked at the door of the bar. Sure enough, he saw a familiar figure walking in his direction amidst the admiring gazes of many drinkers. Damn it, why is she here suddenly? Did you come here on purpose to squat on your own? Leonard's muscles tensed up and cold sweat began to break out on his back. He kept shouting at the old man for help, but the old man never gave him any response. As Serafina approached, the smile on Leonard's face became more forced. He wanted to take advantage of this opportunity to escape, but he was worried that Hasta would be in danger if he stayed here alone. Miss Serafina, I haven't seen you for a long time. You are as beautiful as ever. Asta greeted him warmly, and Leonard looked at Asta with a stiff expression, wanting to say something but stopping. Someone doesn't seem to welcome me very much. Serafina walked to Leonard and sat down, ordered a glass of Bloody Mary, and her fingers gently slid across the edge of the glass, her eyes occasionally falling on Leonard's nervous face. After a while, she said, since we parted last time, I have always wanted to see you again. I didn't expect to meet you here tonight. It seems that we are destined to be together. She didn't come to see Leonard specifically tonight, but to negotiate with Asta about Panatia and give him the compensation he wanted. Leonard had a very reluctant smile on his face, trying to suppress the fear and tension in his heart, and finally said the words, long time no see. Asta, who was sitting on the other side of Leonard, smiled and watched Leonard's conversation with the immortal witch. Serafina's appearance here tonight must have been secretly allowed by Will. It is estimated that she also wants to eat melons quietly and see what kind of sparks Leonard and Serafina will create. You are so heartless. You left in a hurry last time and then there was no news. Are all men the kind of creatures who become heartless after getting out of bed? Serafina's tone was resentful, as if she was the one who was abandoned in this relationship. I had something important to deal with at that time, so I had to leave first. At this point, Leonard could only bite the bullet and follow the other party's words. Try to buy some time, maybe there will be a chance to escape. Serafina seemed to see through all of Leonard's thoughts, and the corners of her mouth rose slightly and said, you are not thinking about how to escape again, are you? How could that be? I came to this bar tonight just to reminisce the good times when you and I first met. Really? Of course, Serafina, how could I lie to you? Leonard has already started to get into the role. He wants to lead the immortal witch away from the bar to avoid implicating innocent people. Lies come out of your mouths, that's the mouths of you men. Serafina said sarcastically, and seemed not to be moved by Leonard's words at all. You women's mouths are always full of lies. Leonard wanted to fight back like this, but he didn't dare to offend the other party at this time. He turned to look at Asta and said as calmly as possible, Asta, didn't you just say that you have things to deal with at home? Leave this place for me and Serafina to reunite. As he said, he also winked at Asta a few times, hoping that Asta could understand and leave here in time according to his words. Leonard, why are your eyes twitching all the time? Quote. Leonard opened his mouth and didn't know what to say for a while. I was kindly persuading you to leave, and even winked at you crazily, but you asked me if there was anything wrong with my eyes. Whose eyes are wrong now? Asta, you are usually so smart, can't you see that there is some problem between me and Miss Serafina? Leonard, what's wrong with you? Hee, I'm fine. Leonard said this very seriously. Before Asta could answer, he raised his voice and said, Asta, my friend, can't you see that I just want to be alone with this beautiful Miss Serafina? Seeing that Asta couldn't understand what he meant, Leonard could only resort to this last resort and apologize to Asta later. As for whether there would be a future, he didn't dare to guarantee it. Asta was also slightly stunned. He didn't expect Leonard to come up with such a solution. 1/3 of the drinkers in the bar had already looked at this position. Seeing that Asta had no intention of getting up and leaving, Leonard was about to say a few more words. At this time, Serafina next to him spoke first. Leonard, it's over between us. Now, the person I like is your good friend, Mr. Asta. This sentence was like a heavy bomb, attracting the attention of the remaining 2/3 of the drinkers in the bar. For more thrilling fanfiction stories like this, check out my channel Fanfic audiobook. Dive into epic adventures, mysterious realms, and legendary journeys brought to life through immersive storytelling. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more amazing audiobooks.